Welcome back to the studio with Robert G. Allen, author of Nothing Down and Multiple Streams of Income. Today we're going to talk about if someone had $10,000 today, right before maybe a recession, right before maybe this inflation, where would you tell them to put that $10,000 to get the best ROI on their investment?
Let's assume I only had 10,000 left. So I'm barely making it, but I have 10 grand. Maybe my grandmother died and left me 10 grand. Mm-hmm. So, and I've got a job. It's nice to have some stability. Get stable, however you need to do that. But then you got this 10 grand, what would you do with it? Well, I literally would sign up for one of these online programs for how to look at real estate across the entire United States. So they cost like $100 a month.
So you're investing in yourself?
I would invest in myself, yes, I would. I would get some books and read about it. But what you want to do with, especially if you're strapped for money, is to do wholesaling. And that's where you're buying a property and you're immediately selling it before you actually own it. And so you can look at the entire United States and find highly motivated sellers who are trying to sell their property during this time when things are slowing down. This is perfect because the fear is prevalent. There's going to be more and more fear as these interest rates increase. So I would be finding properties that were in marketplace, kind of marginal marketplace. I would want to go outside of a major metropolis. If a major metropolis is, let's say, Phoenix or Oklahoma City, Arkansas, that's a good state. North Carolina, that's another good state. Florida, that's another good state. I'm going to be looking on using my software how to find a property that's just outside that city, maybe a city that's just outside the big city. Therefore, prices are usually going to be a little bit lower there, and the demand's going to be a little lower. And you're going to find something where somebody wants to sell, and you're going to make an offer on it. You're going to offer using your $10,000, maybe $1,000 in earnest money, where you're going to tie it up, subject to your inspection or subject to somebody on your side going through the property and looking at it. You want a subject to because if you change your mind, you can literally say, I decided not to buy it. If you don't have a subject to, that means you've committed your $1,000 earnest money. And if you decide not to buy it, they'll take your money. They keep it. So you need a subject to clause, subject to the inspection of your business partner. You put in the clause that says your name and or assigns. So wherever you sign a contract to buy a piece of real estate, your name is who's the buyer, your name and or assigns, which means you and or whomever you assign this contract to, right? So you now get an offer. You can do with DocuSign, you can literally sign an offer to buy a property without ever signing a physical document. You can just sign your name to a DocuSign, right? So the seller, you present the DocuSign to the seller. Hopefully it's an off-market property, meaning that it's not listed with a real estate agent. It'll be a little trickier to do that. But the bottom line is you tie it up. Now you have time to flip it. You flip it to somebody else. You've got $1,000 at risk, but if you have a subject to clause, there's no risk. You now advertise to flip it to somebody else at a higher price. You're going to turn your $1,000 into $10,000 or $5,000 or $3,000 or $8,000 or $20,000. I would do that first. I would be a wholesaler. I would wholesale, and you can do it all around the United States. Now, in most of my books you'll read, I say, don't invest outside of 50 miles of your own home. That was the way I used to do it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, 50 miles is a nice thing to do if you're going to own it and manage it. But if you're going to wholesale it, you can do that anywhere. You could do that any country in the world, to tell you the truth. But here in America, wow, there are properties every day coming out on the marketplace. How many do you need? So you flip one or two every 3 months, Maybe every year you're going to do that once every 2 months. You make 10, 15, 20. Now you have a job, frankly. Yeah, it's a nice job. You can make good money at it. But eventually you got to be a buyer and a holder.
And
because,
just to interrupt you real quick, if you're doing that every 2 or 3 months, that means that you're looking every day, right? Or
yes, you don't have to.
But it's not like you only work one day.
Here's what I would do
right?
if I were you. I would make an offer every week. I would look a couple times a week. I would make an offer at least once a week. And therefore, if in a 12-week period of time, you'd be making 12 offers. One of those 12 offers is going to come through. It's going to be a below market property by a seller who doesn't want it. And they're hoping to sell it, and you now have whatever the contract time is. If you want to make as long a contract as you can, before you have to close, maybe 30, 60, 90 days, the longer the better, which means you have an opportunity to sell it to somebody else.
And especially in today's economy, like you were saying, the inventories are going up and there are more motivated sellers than there were even a year or two
It's
ago.
the perfect time to do this.
Perfect time.
You know why? Because the hot market still hasn't fizzled yet. The flipping, time to flip, it was actually 6 months ago. That was when you could put a property up for sale and there'd be 12 counter offers. People wanted to buy it and they're bidding the prices up. Those times are going. And yet people are still thinking they could buy and make a profit quickly. So during this questionable time, you can still flip. Excuse me, I've talked myself into a coughing fit. Let's go. So anyway, that's what I would do.
Cool. And then I think you were talking about eventually once you build up enough money, you were going to say, I think, transition into investing in the deals yourself, right?
You become a bird dog first. You become a flipper first, a wholesaler. But eventually you'll have enough of your own money to be able to buy great assets. And the more cash you have, the lower you can negotiate the price. So just build up your cash, but you can make cash while you're building up your cash. So good luck.
Good luck. So if I understand correctly, what you're saying is $10,000 isn't quite enough to have good passive income. So I take that and I start wholesaling, do some active income, right? I'm looking for deals. I'm putting earnest money down. I'm using that to fund these flips or these wholesales, right? And then eventually I'm able to have enough money where I can actually invest in a property myself. Are you a big fan of like renting or like long-term rentals or short-term rentals, or what do you like to do?
Back to your point, is 10,000 not enough? Well, not necessarily. Some marketplaces, 10,000 is plenty. Kansas City, Arkansas, it's enough. It is. But the reason I like to do wholesaling when I'm out of market like that, out of in another state, I want. Let me tell you that one of my students was massive into fix up, and he was buying and fixing up real estate like crazy, and he had maybe 20 properties under construction with teams of people going and fixing things up and making serious big money. And then there was a hurricane. And the hurricane, what did it do? It completely wiped him out and lost $10 million. Now, is he a little gun shy now? So now he's learned that to focus on one market is dangerous. It's, you got to put your eggs in lots of different baskets. So today, because he got burned so badly, he does 3 or 4 properties wholesaling a month. He has a team of people in Venezuela that help him find the deals. He used these people to negotiate for him. He's got a whole team of it's all out. He doesn't have to do any of it. He's got a team that does it for him. And the reason he does it that way is because he's in and out. He in a multiple property, multiple states, because he realizes that no hurricane will ever destroy him again, never. And so he's learned that lesson, and therefore he doesn't own lots of real estate. He's moving back into the ownership part, but in the meantime, while he had to dig himself out of a $10 million loss, he went into wholesaling because his credit was horrible. He lost big time. He just got wiped out, but he didn't get out of the game. He says, I'll just change the game to fit my lessons that I need to learn. So he went immediately into wholesaling, assemble a team, they buy the properties for him, and he cashes the checks. So
that's awesome. So he didn't have he wasn't able to leverage because you said his business credit was shot.
Yeah, he was millions of dollars in debt.
So what did he do? He just did a cash flow play.
Yeah. So how much does it cost to buy and tie up a piece of real estate? He had $1,000, $2,000. Anybody can do that. In other words, he could get the contract signed by some other person who owned a property in another state. Then he can flip that property. It's wholesale is technically what it's called. Flipping is when you buy it and hold it and fix it up and then sell it. That's flipping. Wholesaling is when you never own it. You just have the contract to buy it and then you sell the paper to somebody else. So he had enough money to get started wholesaling. And so it got him out of his hole. And he's an amazing guy. He's in Houston. I love the guy. He's just incredible.
That's awesome. Wow. Well, thank you so much. We've learned a ton. This is great. So if I have 10 grand, there's I can wholesale, I can flip, I can buy and hold, depending on, what market I'm in and how far 10,000 goes. It really depends. But there's no bottom. Like I'm never going to.
But you could always give the 10,000 to me, and I just show you how to do it. But, but awesome. Some of you actually are going to do that.
Perfect. Well, thanks for coming in, Robert. We love having you.